Good morning, folks. I'm not tapping the screen today because I have the angle changed. Just to show off my only and favorite piece of comic book paraphernalia. That's my Latveria shirt. Since I really don't like not being centered in the shot, I'm going to fix that now. There we are. So, I'm sure you're all wondering why I'm wearing a comic book shirt. Should be fairly obvious. Today's topic is going to be comic books. Specifically, the Rippaverse and building parallel, and how pop culture is not necessarily a lost game. For those of us who don't follow the woke, let's say. Need to move that. And of course that necessitates I move that. Sorry, talking to myself again. So, well, before I get into it, please like, share, subscribe, comment. I'm going to be trying to do some more tweaks to the channel. Had it suggested to me yesterday that I need to, or it might be a good idea to, start using a thumbnail or some sort of templated thumbnail for videos. It's probably a good idea. Anyway, yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment. There's a donation link down below if you feel like helping me out. Excuse me. So let's talk about building parallel. The Rippaverse was in pre-order until, I believe, Monday this week. And in the last 4 days, they've gotten over $1.5 million worth of orders, pre-orders, what have you. Sorry, they're in pre-order still, I believe. I don't think anything is shipping until the end, next month. So Eric July, that's young Ripa, 59. He's apparently been planning this for some time, and good for him for getting it off the ground. But more importantly, good for everyone else for showing a bit of faith in him. If I had the funds, money's tight, I would be definitely on that pre-order list. The first story, Isom, looks interesting. And with Ripa being a very old school sort of comic book fan, someone who loves to have debates and discussions and really just wants to tell good stories. Sorry, that's itching for some reason today. Probably a bit of growth around it. But what he really wants to do is tell good stories. And his one of his guiding principles is giving the customer what they want. We've seen with the big two, DC and Marvel, that, how to put it, they've really stopped paying attention to their customer base and started paying far too much attention to their Twitter base. Now, you guys know I've had my ups and downs with Twitter. My original account is currently in a state of deactivation, and once it's deleted, I will re-examine whether or not I'll keep using Twitter. I basically ended up in the same situation as Jordan Peterson. I was told that something I had said on the platform, which I personally didn't think was all that inflammatory, and was certainly not directed at any specific individual, was the simplest phrasing would be hate speech, for a simple shorthand. I didn't even make a statement. I simply asked a question. And it was a question that, in the context of the conversation that was being had, was perfectly legitimate, in my opinion. Twitter's algorithm or censors or somebody, because it took a few days before the comment got flagged. I suspect that was because someone decided they didn't like something I said. I don't really care. Kiss my ass. But I took a different tack than Dr. Peterson. Whereas he refuses to remove the tweet, I deleted the tweet and removed the account. Yeah, I'm literally taking my business somewhere else. Speaking of business and taking it somewhere else, to bring it back to the topic at hand, the Rippaverse. And I will put a link to the Rippaverse down below. It's not very difficult. It's rippaverse.com. It's an A instead of an ER. So, just in case I forget, it's actually stated in the video here. Excuse me. A little slow to get going this morning. But the thing that excites me about the Rippaverse is that this is someone who is building something from the ground up, completely from the ground up. Even his funding system, I believe, was something that he actually engineered and created himself, or had someone else build for him, but it was customized, bespoke even. Excuse me. But the reason that's so important is because a lot of the people in the white positivity sphere talk about building parallel. And what we're seeing is that it's both possible and potentially extremely lucrative. But more than that, it's showing that if we return to basic business attitudes, where you do something to provide a service for your customers, as opposed to telling your customers what they should want, you get rewarded by the market. And while, for example, what I do, woodworking, is not particularly woke as a field, there is a very definite push for representation and intersectionality within the trades. It's not uncommon to see banner ads for women in trades or women in STEM or all these sorts of things. The problem is there's there's nothing promoting men. So what are boys supposed to do? Just, stay home and raise kids? That would never work anyway. More than that, the problem with pushing women forward is that you have fewer people having babies. Now, a lot of people think, oh, there's too many people on the planet anyway. I disagree. But from studies that have been cited by various people, it looks like the human population on this planet will top out at 9 billion. That's 20 years away, 30 years away maybe, at the rate we're reproducing. And the Georgia Guidestones notwithstanding, or no longer standing, that was nice to see. But the idea that we could keep the human population at 500 million Why? Why would you want to? Sorry, starting to ramble a little bit. Bring it back to the Rippaverse. The first character, Isom, or Isom, I'm not sure exactly how the pronunciation would be done. It's Isom, so I tend to want to say Isom. But I guess properly pronounced as Isom, which feels a little ungainly on the tongue, but I didn't write the book. I didn't create the character. I'm very interested in the character. The story that's being teased in the videos that Ripa has put out is very interesting. And while it's not woke, it does seem to speak of the black experience, whatever that really means. I couldn't tell you. I'm clearly not black. I'm obviously Asian. But one of the big reasons I'm excited about this is because it's something original. People are finally realizing you don't need to keep doing what everybody else is doing to get ahead. Actually, I want to put this a little more prominent. So that's a project I'm working on. And since we're talking about comic books anyway, I figured something comic related would be nice. Now, when I say project, some people might think, oh, that's something ambitious and big. No. You don't have to build something gigantic or ambitious to call it a project, for one, or to focus attention on it, or to make something worthwhile. You can make any number of valuable things on a small scale. I'm a woodworker. I know that very well. I know how a tag is standing. I know how important a single chair can be, or a table, or any number of other things. Excuse me. Give me a second. Sorry about that. One of the prices you pay to be a woodworker is that sometimes your breathing gets affected. Which is why it's usually a good idea to make sure you wear a dust mask. Or work somewhere that's fairly well ventilated. I try to do one or the other, if not both, sometimes. Today I'm just a bit dry. And really I'm still recovering from that illness I had last week, or the week before. And no, I don't know that it was COVID. I'm fairly sure it's not cancer. So, fairly sure. God damn, I'm a pale son of a bitch. Anyway, the Rippaverse. Oh, sorry. The Rippaverse is one of the first pop cultural rebellions, I guess we could call it. I haven't heard of any other well-organized, well-funded, and very anti-woke setups, businesses in pop cultural space, certainly. Almost everyone in pop culture seems to think that they need to pander to Twitter, of all people. Twitter, the place where people who have no interest in a thing congregate to complain about a thing, to complain about the nature of a thing. Part of my disillusionment with pop culture began really with Brie Larson. Yeah, Captain Marvel. Or as I believe it's the Critical Drinker calls her, Plank. Yeah, it's disturbing that I can emote harder doing one of these videos than someone who's supposedly trained as an actress can in a big budget film. Yeah. Maybe it's a... I don't know. I won't speculate on why. But anyway, when she came out and she said she wasn't making movies for middle-aged white men or old white men, whatever term exactly it was she used, my first thought was, you do know how the comic book business got that big, right? It wasn't exactly little black girls reading those books. But a lot of people applauded her for being a racist misandrist. And yeah, I don't think there's any reason not to call her a racist misandrist when she specifically mentions white men. But the disillusionment started for me there. Really. Disney Star Wars wasn't much help. And, of course, there will be people who will say, oh no, you just don't like Rey because she's a strong woman. No, I don't like Rey because she's a terribly written character who has minimal struggle and somehow has all these innate gifts that, yes, while she, Luke, Anakin, any Jedi actually did have an innate gift, it still needed to be trained. Anyone who's watched the first Star Wars movie, the first thing that happens when we see Luke on his own adventure, he needs to be rescued. And then the same thing happened in Force Awakens with Finn. Sort of. But he needed to be rescued. Which made a lot of us think, oh, Finn might be the new guy. And believe it or not, we didn't care that he was black. In fact, when he took the helmet off in the trailer, when they revealed that he was a black stormtrooper in the trailer, an awful lot of us went, oh, we don't care. Because those of us who knew the lore knew fucking well that stormtroopers were not clones. But of course, the people on Twitter who saw any sort of criticism or some dolt who didn't know the lore who looked up and went, oh, stormtroopers aren't black, they're all supposed to look like Jango Fett. No, those are clone troopers. You know, give you a pat on the head and tell you smart, but not quite. You know, you're lucky you're cute, sort of thing. But all it took was one imbecile to look up and go, oh, black stormtrooper. And that might have been all he said. Oh, a black stormtrooper, question mark. That might have been all that was in that original tweet that kicked off this whole shitstorm. And then all of a sudden, people started, Twitter people, started losing their shit over racism. Hang on. You want to talk about racism? Look at the Chinese poster. Look at the Chinese poster for Black Panther. Yeah, not so much. But with the Rippaverse, what I'm really excited about is that this is a black man who's telling a black story. Now, I'm not excited because there's black. That's not what excites me. The excitement comes from the fact that it looks like it's an authentic story, something sincere and original. And one of the things I really like is that they're not making a big deal about the fact that he's black. To me, it's a big deal because I haven't read a lot of books about black people that were actually worth reading. Sorry, Captain Falcon is an asshat. As much of an asshat as these people at these recent hearings who look at elected representatives and go, you need to do better, you're transphobic. Okay, you were asked a question in the Senate or Congress or committee, whatever the body was, and your response was to be an ignorant C-word and start attacking the person in authority that's asking you, how do you have a job? Seriously, I mean, you don't necessarily go to work and be completely meek about it, but you're going to look at an elected official and accuse them of something when you're the one being questioned. Shut your hole, answer the question, and move on. It's the exact same thing you do with a cop. Shut your hole, answer his questions, and move on. If you have an issue, you go to court. You don't fight the cop on the side of the road. What fucking good does that do you? But of course, common sense is not that common, otherwise more people would fucking have it. And you watch, that'll be the thumbnail. Or me scratching my nose. Anyway, yeah, check out the Rippaverse. Maybe it's not for you, maybe it is. I'm gonna try and scrape together enough before the pre-order period ends to see if I can't get one of those books. I really want to read it. Anyway, folks, that's it for me this morning. I don't know if I'll make another video today. I potentially might. Depending on how my voice feels towards the end of the day, I very well may start... well, I've got to finish Venture for my friend Cass. That's actually going to get retitled Leaving Day. I'm going to try to splice what I've recorded before together, and then add the final chapter. Hopefully that'll work out. If not, I'm going to have to do a lot of reading. I'll reread the entirety of the story, and get that posted. And I hope you guys are excited about that as I am, because, again, this is something original, something new, something sincere. I'm actually somewhat in awe of Cass's ability to tell a story that draws you in. I certainly love reading the stories. Just reading them, just looking at the words on the paper. The performance aspect of it, when I'm actually doing the reads, there have been a couple of times where I've had to hit the pause button and go, wow, this is actually really good. And Cass, I'm not trying to suck your dick, buddy, but it is good. Anyway, I'm sure that's going to get me demonetized. Not that I ever expected monetization. There's a donation link below for a reason. Anyway, folks, I hope you're all having a good day. Don't forget, it looks like building parallel can work. Fight the power. Love you all. Take it easy. Bye-bye.